Alright, at long last, I'm motherfucking continuing my Secret of Ascendance series. I've been lazy and been occupied with other stuff in life. So this series is going at a slow pace and whenever I feel like doing it. But anyway, now we're on Cancer Ascendant and the secrets of cancer. Me dissecting this shit. So what is something, common with and unique about the cancer sign? Cancer ascendants and shit, right? In my opinion, one thing that cancer ascendant people will have to deal with is they'll have to deal with themes of deception. I feel as though that is something that would be really prevalent for a cancer ascendant person, especially when we look at all of the nakshatras that fall within the cancer rashi. So, for example, let's start with Purnyavasu. What is the theme of deception with Purnyavasu? Well, we know that Lord Ram is associated and attached with that nakshatra and how, he's seen the golden deer and the golden deer turned out to be a demon or whatever, and then his wife gets abducted. That's one little theme of deception. Then you go to Pushia, um, where you have Brihaspati. And Brihaspati apparently, had Shani, aka Saturn, wanted to learn stuff from him. But Brihaspati didn't want to teach Saturn all that, Brihaspati really knew. Because he considered Saturn to be like an illegitimate child of the sun, Surya. Because Saturn is the son of the clone of Surya's original wife and shit. And perhaps he didn't consider, Shani, aka Saturn, to be a legitimate offspring and therefore didn't want to teach him the proper right things. So perhaps he ends up not teaching the proper things, ends up sort of deceiving Shani in a way. That's one little form of deception. And then you're left with Aslesha Nakshatra, which is ruled by the Nagas. And the only thing I can think of with Aslesha Nakshatra and the Nagas is if you apparently the two sisters, the two characters, Kadru and Vinita, if I'm saying their names right, Vinata, Kadru made like a bet with Vinata that the tail of the horse that emerged from the churning of the ocean was black and not white. And that if she was correct, then Vinita and her offspring would have to be her slaves. And Kadru was like the mother, one of her children and offsprings were like Nagas. So she had the Nagas, the serpent-like deity, serpent-like race, go and submerge themselves with the tail of the horse to make it look like it was black. And therefore she ends up winning this bet, winning this deal that she ended up, rigging and conning. She won it through deception. So you see that, therefore, the cancer individual, they could deal with themes of deception. They could either be the ones being deceived or they might cleverly be the one doing the cheating. They might be the ones to deceive you. So it might go either way. But you might see that theme of deception be prevalent with the cancer ascendant person. And then you might also be able to see a difficult karma with children be very prevalent with the cancer ascendant person, even when you look at all of the nakshatras. If you focus on Purnyavasu nakshatra, whose deity is Aditi, the mother goddess, it is stated that Buddha, aka Mercury, had ended up cursing her, to like lose one of her children. And then of course the child ended up coming back. The pregnancy ends up coming back because her husband is a sage, is a guru, and he just had the ability to revive the child and stuff. And then if you go look at Pushia, um, we find out that Mercury, aka Buddha, is the basically like the stepson to Jupiter, to Brihaspati. And Brihaspati ends up like cursing um Mercury and stuff. So that's another example of difficult child karma. And then if you go look at Aslesha Nakshatra, which is the Nagas are like serpent like deities and stuff. So I can't really focus on something specifically with them, but since there is obviously a connection with snakes with Aslesha, it is stated apparently that, when snakes are, it's stated that like the mother ends up dipping and abandoning their kid before the eggs are even hatched, before they're even born. So you see like that coldness when it comes, that coldness or that struggle or that difficult karma with children when it comes to Cancer ascendant people. Then if you go and look at the fifth house of Cancer, the fifth house of Cancer is Scorpio. And Scorpio's originally associated with the eighth house. And K2 is supposed to like co-rule the sign of Scorpio. So you just see like, I don't know, heavy karma associated with the fifth house of a Cancer ascendant. Of course, the fifth house is associated with education, children, gambling, politics, and astrology and stuff. So, in a general sense, we can just see heavy karma with children, loss of children, death of children, um, just heavy, just heavy impact or karma associated with children. And those could be some examples, as I have stated, with the nakshatras. Um, as you can see, if you focus on Punyarvasu nakshatra with Aditi, she's a mother goddess. Everyone is like her children. If you focus on Pushya, whose deity is Brihaspati, Brihaspati is like the personification of the planet Jupiter, and Jupiter is associated with children. Um, yeah, Jupiter is associated with children. And if Brihaspati is like a teacher, and Jupiter is associated with teachers also. And a teacher's students can be the equivalent of having children, of having underlings. So you see some type of connection and theme there. As for the Nagas, I'm not really entirely sure if I'm being honest for real. I can't really associate no theme or connection with children when it comes to Nagas. But like I said, at least with Pushia and Ponyarvasu, you see this connection with children, or this connection with students, and having many offsprings or many students or many followers or whatever. So there's just some type of heavy karma to be associated with students and children, or maybe followers. And now let's go, continue dissecting this damn ascendant. So let's start with the first house. The sign of Cancer. The planet Jupiter is of course exalted in Cancer, and Mars is debilitated in Cancer, and then Moon naturally rules Cancer. So one of the things that I would say about, let's start with Moon, about Cancer ascendant people is that they might since the moon represents the mother, the mind, and the emotions, they probably cannot really hide how they feel. They probably not going to really be able to hide their emotions. They wear their emotions. They wear their heart on their sleeve, maybe, and whatnot. Um, what else? Of course, we could say that the mother or mother figure could be very vital, influential, and important in the Cancer ascendant person's life. And that's all I can really think of off the top of my head in regards to the moon. Then, and also we could probably say that this person can be very fickle because the moon is always going through phases. The moon is always going through, you know, it's always transiting. It goes into a new sign every like 2.5 days. It goes into a new nakshatra every day. So moon could be very fickle. It might say something one day and say something the other day. Feel one way this way and then feel another way another day. The moon disappears and then reappears. So the moon can be very maybe deceiving. Sometimes you look in the sky and the moon looks very big. It looks real closer to the earth than what it really is. Sometimes it's in the sky, sometimes it's not. So yes, the Cancer ascended person could be, like I said, the theme of deception. They could be the one deceiving you, or they could be the ones being deceived. If we focus on Chandra, the moon deity, the moon spirit, we know that he was able to charm and win the wife of Brahaspati, Tara, and end up having sex with her and had the offspring Mercury. So, these people could be very charming, maybe very alluring. He was able to, it's theorized or rumored or myth or whatever you want to call it, that the wives, it's stated that, with the moon, Daksha ended up cursing the moon because the moon ended up wanting to just stay with one wife. I think it was Rohini. He fell in love with Rohini. And all the other nakshatras, all the other wives grew jealous and he didn't want to leave. So he was cursed to have to die. And then, he eventually goes to Shiva. And Shiva ends up making it so that when he dies, he always revives and comes back and stuff. So it's like the moon ended up cheating death. The moon cheats death. The moon can be maybe very selfish. The moon neglected the other wives to be with one. So you could say that the moon was selfish. You could say that the moon cheats. So yes, a Cancer person, they might be selfish. They might cheat. They might cheat literally. They might cheat metaphorically. They might cheat death, like I just said in this example. But these are things that you might see with the Cancer person. They could be very clever in that way. And it makes sense because when you also think about it, the avatar of Vishnu that's associated with the moon is Krishna. Krishna is very clever. Krishna is very witty. So these traits can maybe manifest itself for the Cancer ascended person, or if you got a bunch of planets in Cancer themselves. So now let's go look at Mars. Mars is debilitated in Cancer. So with the Cancer ascendant, with Mars being debilitated in Cancer, like I've always said in previous videos, when a planet is debilitated in a sign, to me that just means that the planet has to work really hard, or it means that you'll give a focused special attention to that area of your life because that's your weakness. You're very weak in that area. That'll be an area of attention. That'll be an area of focus with your Mars, with your planet being that weak. You might give a lot of energy and attention because that's a problem area. Mars is associated with brothers and male friends and weapons and aggression. And Mars, is sort of, I don't know, it's a bit uncomfortable in Cancer or whatever. But this is my fucking theory when it comes to, this is my little half brained ass quick little theory of Mars and Cancer. If you're a Cancer ascendant, we might be able to see that you might naturally have issues with the male siblings in your life. You might naturally have issues with male siblings or male friends, maybe get into a lot of fights with them. Or maybe with you having Mars debilitated in Cancer, you could be a very maybe confrontational individual. You might feel as though you might have to overreact, overperform to maybe prove yourself or to defend yourself and protect your vulnerabilities and emotions. Something like that could happen. And you might also super really see that with you being a Cancer ascendant, that you might have issues with the siblings because you have Virgo in the third house. And Virgo originally is associated with the sixth house of debt, the karma, and diseases and all that stuff. So with the sign of the original house of the karma falling in the third house of communication and siblings and all that, we see that you might have to deal with some heavy karma when it comes to your siblings or your youngest sibling. There could be a lot of conflicts and bashing, you know, butting of heads with the sibling, specifically a male sibling or male friends. We could see that with the Cancer ascended person, you know. What else could we see? And then maybe since the, you know, Mars is debilitated in Cancer for, you know, and Cancer is the ascendant, and the ascendant is the head. And in Cancer is also, you know, associated with the breast. So I don't know. You might potentially have maybe a scar on your face, or you might have a scar on your breast, or you might have to get surgery on your breast or near your chest or on your face or something, maybe with Mars being debilitated in Cancer in the ascendant. Work on the, since the debilitated area is the area that you have to work towards. Maybe you might get work done on your breast. Who knows? Or work done on your surgery on your face. Since Mars is a natural karaka of the third house, and the third house can be associated with surgery and all that shit. Maybe surgery on the breast and maybe on the face, on the head. So now let's go and jump to Jupiter, who is exalted in Cancer in the ascendant. Jupiter being exalted in Cancer in the ascendant could maybe show us that the mother could have been a very vital teacher in your life. Maybe mother could have been, like I said, could have been a teacher and very influential in your life of Cancer, with Jupiter exalted in Cancer. Or you might feel as though you already possess all the knowledge and all the wisdom. You're smart, can't nobody tell you shit. You have all the answers, you're already wise. You just naturally are instilled with knowledge and wisdom, and mainly could have came from your mother or mother figure. And then when you look at the sixth house of the Cancer ascendant, we see that Sagittarius is in the sixth house. Sagittarius usually rules the ninth house and is ruled by Jupiter. So it shows us heavy karma with teachers, heavy karma with fathers' teachings, and yeah, belief systems and all that good stuff. And then Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn, which is the seventh house, which is your partner, which is your intimate, close connections and relationships. So we see heavy karma associated with teaching or teachers, and this can play out in numerous ways. You might see for the Cancer ascendant person that you can't tell them nothing, like I said. With Jupiter being debilitated in Capricorn in the seventh house, their partner might possess the wrong type of knowledge and wisdom. And Capricorns, to me, when you look at all of the nakshatras in Capricorn, they all are associated with like conquering and victory. Your partner might be very dominating, strong minded, and they might try to maybe, I don't know, heavily impose you with their knowledge. They might try to heavily impose you and dominate you with their knowledge and wisdom. And you're maybe not trying to hear that shit for whatever reason. You might have had a negative experience with teachers or religion or gurus, motivational speakers. You might have had a negative experience with it. You might feel as though that the shit doesn't work. You might feel as though that you're just hearing shit that you already know, or that they're just giving you the wrong information, that they're not smarter than you. Who knows how it plays out, but something along the lines of that could happen. Something along the lines of that could play out, and it could just cause friction. Your partner could be like your teacher, could be like your guru, and you are not trying to have that. And you might not be trying to hear that potentially as a Cancer ascendant person. And that's really it for the ascendant of the first house. So now we're going to go on to the second house, which is Leo for the Cancer ascendant. So what's the second house about? The second house is the family that you come from. It's really your face from the, it's like the eyes to like the throat. So the second house, the face, is your personal wealth, the family that you come from, and you got Leo in this sign now. I mean, you got the sign of Leo in this house. Nothing is exalted or debilitated. Yeah, nothing is exalted or debilitated in the sign of Leo. But we know that the sun rules Leo. And we know that Leo is really associated with it's originally associated with the fifth house of children and gambling and all that other good shit. So who knows what could happen? Maybe a lot of your wealth and finances could be given to the father, since Sun originally rules Leo and Sun is a karga of the father. A lot of your wealth could go to your father. A lot of your money maybe might go to children, since Leo is associated with the fifth house. It might go to children. Since the second house could be your throat, it's your voice. You might have a very strong, authoritative way of speaking. A strong, authoritative speech could probably be seen with the second house. A strong speech, strong voice might be seen. You might have came from a family who has a very creative background, with Leo being in the second house. Maybe very artsy and creative. Maybe a family that maybe want to nurture and pour into your hobbies or whatever. Who knows? But that's really all I can think about with the second house being ruled by Leo. Like I said, Leo, well, definitely I said this in my manga video. The sign of Leo, when you look at all of the nakshatras within Leo, they all associate with leadership. So it's quite possible you could have came from a family with your parents. They could be very, independent minded. They might work for themselves, have their own little business, or even they work for somebody else. It might not be like a regular job. It's like they still are like their own boss and got their own little independence and freedom, baby. Um, who knows? That's all I can think of if I'm being honest and shit. So now we're gonna go to the third house, which is Virgo. The third house is associated with your efforts, your bravery, your courage, your skills with your hands, your nervous system. It's associated with communication, social media, siblings, specifically youngest sibling, short distance travel, your friends, your local neighborhood, your neighbors and shit. That's what the third house is. And like I said, Virgo originally rules the sixth house, which is associated with the karma that you must face and deal with in this lifetime. It's associated with the house of diseases and deaths, the stuff that you must face, that poison, that pain that you must go through in this lifetime. So this is why I had said for the ascendant native that these people might have difficult karma with their siblings or youngest sibling. They have a debt to pay to them. It may be in a good way or a bad way, but there might be more times than not friction with the siblings. Or your communication might get you in trouble. Or maybe trauma might occur and happen to your hands. Or you might suffer with something in regards to your nervous system. Or maybe a lot of things. Social media might get you into a lot of hell and trouble. Let's look at Venus. Venus is debilitated in the sign of Virgo. So we could say that maybe you'll come into a lot of conflict could happen between you and women, since Venus can represent women in general. A lot of trouble and conflict can happen between you and women when it comes to your communication or their communication, or what you do on social media, or what they say and do on social media. Um, since Venus can represent the wife, love, and marriage, there could be a lot of conflict and quarrels within your love life in regards to social media, traveling, and the communication, maybe. Those could be some issues, prevalent issues that you could face and deal with in your love life. Maybe your sibling could interfere with your love life. Who knows? You know, the person you're interested in might be having sex with your sibling. And or maybe your friend could be having sex with the person you're interested in. And they knew that you was interested in them, but they go and have sex with them anyway. And now you're angry and you feel some type of way, and it causes a split. But that could have been a karma that you've had to deal with. So let's go look at Mercury. Mercury is exalted in mutual sign is in Virgo. So you know Mercury is the logical, practical intelligence and knowledge, and is a significator of communication and the hands and all that good stuff. So maybe sibling, your siblings, they could be very smart, they could be very logical, they could be very practical and intelligent. Same thing with your friends or neighbors, maybe. Or maybe your intelligence, your wit, your practical, logical, problem solving capabilities and talents have to be focused towards dealing with the siblings, dealing with communication, maybe. I don't know. You could be someone whose intelligence, when it comes to your intelligence, you have very great intelligence when it comes to how you communicate, how you maybe express yourself on social media. Or you could be very skilled with working with your hands. You can maybe do nails or lashes or fix stuff with your hands. You can be very skilled when it comes to your hands, when it comes to Mercury being exalted naturally in the third house of Virgo for the Cancer ascendant. But that's all I can think of when it comes to the third house for the Cancer ascendant. So now we're going to move on to the fourth house, which is Libra, where you have Saturn exalted and Sun debilitated. The fourth house is associated with the mother, is associated with the home life, one's own happiness, because the moon originally rules the fourth house. And, nurturing and comfort can be found in your own home or from the mother. You're born from the mother, you're breastfed from the mother. So, happiness and comfort and nurturance can maybe also be seen from the fourth house. But you have Libra here, which originally rules the seventh house of marriage and intimate relationships and one-on-one stuff. So, and with the time of day that the fourth house represents, it's like midnight, it's nighttime, it's darkness. That's when the moon is the most visible and whatnot. So I really got a lot to say about the fourth house for the Cancer ascendant. But since we know Libra is originally associated with the seventh house of marriage, we could see that maybe in general, you could prefer your love life to be maybe private. You could prefer maybe a very private love life. What else can we see? One of the things we could see with Sun being debilitated in Libra in the fourth house is that maybe you don't feel as though you can fully express yourself to your mother or when you're in the home life, because the Sun is the soul, the Sun is the ego. You might feel as though that when you're in the house, when you're with your mother, around your parents, maybe you can't fully express who you are. You gotta dim your light. You gotta stay humble. You don't want to really, because you feel as though that maybe if you turn up the heat, you turn up the light, you really express and show who you really are, you might hurt people. You might burn the house down. You might hurt your parents or your family, maybe physically or emotionally, with you expressing and showing who you truly are. Yeah, by you expressing who you truly are, you might end up blinding people, hurting your family. So you just gotta be humble. Or maybe you might find yourself. No, I don't. I was ready to say you might find yourself have to humble yourself in relationships, but I'll just say that maybe in the home life, in regards to the mother, who you are might be toned down a bit. You might not be as outgoing, maybe, or dominating within the home life. So then we go look at Saturn, who is exalted in Libra. Saturn likes doing business with people, loves serving other people. It's like working with other people and negotiating with other people. So, like I said, maybe I don't know. Maybe when you have your own house, your own dwelling, maybe you'll like to keep your house tight and clean. You maybe like to keep your house clean and tidy because you see Saturn is a servant. But now Saturn is exalted in the fourth house of the home, of the relationship with the mother. So let's say that the mother is out the picture and you have your own place. Well, you'll be a servant to your house. So you might cook and clean the bathroom, scrub the floors, be like Cinderella and shit. So you might be a servant to the needs of the house. And then also, like I said, you might be very subservient to the mother or mother figure within the house or household. You might always be there for the mother to maybe take care of her. Whether you maybe want to or not, you might just do it. And since Libra represents, really the seventh house of love and marriage, the people you date and attract, they might also, tone down who they are in an intimate, private environment and setting. The person who you date and attract, they might also be very, submissive to the needs of the house, of the family. They might be the one who is prone to cooking and cleaning and taking care of the needs of the house. They'll be a servant, they'll be a slave to whatever the house, the family needs. And they'll tone down, they'll sacrifice or humble a piece of who they are in order to serve the household. So that your lovers, that's might something you might experience with the people that you date, with you being a Cancer ascendant. And then that's all I can think of. So now we're gonna go to the fifth house, which is Scorpio. And I already sort of talked about this in the beginning of the video, heavy karma with children. I broke down all the nakshatras of Vasu, Pushya, and Aslesha, of how, Aditi is the mother goddess, and how Mercury cursed her to have lost her child, but she ends up getting the child back. Pushya, the personification of Jupiter. Jupiter is associated with teachers and students and children, and Brihaspati ended up cursing his stepson, Mercury. Mercury was born from an affair. And then I talked about how all of Cancer is associated with deception, and then Scorpio is originally associated with the eighth house. The eighth house can be originally associated with secrets. So you see all that heavy karma associated with deception and children and students. So you'll see something along those lines with the Cancer ascendant person. Children can be very important to them. Having students can be very important to them. Treating everybody like they're their student or their children can be very important. They might want to fight for rights in regards to children. They might pursue a career that caters to children, but who knows? They might not have kids. They might have a loss of kids. But you just see that there's this heavy karma associated with those type of things that I just listed as examples. That's all I can really think of and say. Wait, I'm wrong. Alright, so Moon is debilitated in Scorpio. And then Moon is exalted in Mutricone in Taurus. So let's think about Moon debilitation in Scorpio in the fifth house for a Cancer ascendant. To me, wherever the Moon is debilitated, in whatever sign and house based upon your ascendant, that's where the Moon feels unbalanced and uneased at. It feels unbalanced when it comes to the fifth house. So mentally, you might be stressed in the things in regards to the fifth house, which could be, you could be stressed when it comes to children. And there could be so many different examples that this could play out. You might really want to have kids, but you might not have them. You might be unable to have them. You might date people who don't want kids. Or every time you have a kid, you have a miscarriage. And that stresses you out because you really want a fucking kid. Or you might not want kids. Or this stuff with kids, I don't know, just can weigh heavily on your mind. Or let's do another example with the fifth house. Politics might be very stressful and weigh heavy on you. Gambling might be on your mind and weigh heavily on you. I don't know. Education might, in dealing with secrets or whatever, because of Scorpio, education and all that shit. Spying, because fifth house is education. Scorpio can be secrets. So I don't know. Spying, I don't fucking know. All those type of things can be very stressful and can make your mind feel unbalanced. So yeah, that's it for the fifth house. I'll talk about Moon and Taurus in the 11th house when I get to the 11th house. So now let's move on to the 6th house, which is Sagittarius, which is very important. Like I said, Sagittarius originally is in the 9th house of the teachings of the father and father figures. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And we can just see heavy karma when it comes to teaching. You might do the teaching yourself. Or you might hate teachers. You might hate gurus and mentors. And since Jupiter and since Sagittarius was originally ruled by Jupiter, Jupiter is the natural significator of the husband. You might have a spouse who might want to impose their beliefs on you, who might always try to drop knowledge and gems on you, and you might not want to hear it, or it might be the wrong knowledge and wisdom, or you might feel as though you already have the answers, as I said. But we just see heavy karma and friction with these type of things with Cancer ascendant. Um, Sagittarius, I think with it associated originally being the ninth house, it's associated with the thighs, the legs. So I don't know. Maybe heavy karma and injuries can be maybe seen to your legs, maybe, or something like that. But yeah, I basically hit the nail on the head when it comes to Sagittarius and the sixth house. Just heavy karma with that type of shit. I'm trying to think before I jump on to the next thing, but no, that's maybe that may be it. The sixth house is the things you deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's your diseases. Maybe you went, like I said, maybe you had a negative experience. You went to a teacher, you went to a guru, you went to some educated person for a problem. Because the sixth house is the problem. Sagittarius is originally the teacher, the guru. You might have went to a teacher for a problem, and the teacher or whatever, the doctor or whatever, gave you an answer, gave you a diagnosis, gave you a remedy, gave you a treatment, and it didn't work, and it didn't give you the results you was expecting. And now, since it didn't work, you now are like resentful to those type of teachers, or just teachers or gurus or mentors in general. Or you maybe want to be the teacher yourself, since you went to everybody else for answers and they can't give you the answers that you are looking for. You want to find the answers yourself, and you become your own teacher or whatever. You become what you hate. You hated the teachers and people who gave knowledge to you because it didn't work for you. So you decided to go find the answers yourself, and you thus became, and thus you became what you hated. You became a teacher and shared what you found that worked for you with other people, just like what people shared what worked for them with you, but it didn't work for you. So you see this little karmic fucking knot that I just fucking unraveled and bullshit. So anyway, moving on. Seventh house, which I've already talked about. Capricorn. Capricorns are conquerors. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Jupiter debilitated in Capricorn. Like I said, with the Mars exalted and the Jupiter debilitated, we just see that, you could have a strong, dominating partner. They could be strong-willed, strong-minded. They could be dominating in their career. They could be maybe very dominating and strong in the marriage and the relationship. They could be strong and imposing with their belief systems. Um, they could be maybe with Mars, I don't know, very confident, very competitive, into weapons, into sports, very close relationship with male friends or brothers, maybe. Um, they could be maybe more so like a teacher versus a spouse with Jupiter's debilitation there. Because whatever the planet is debilitate, that's the area you work towards. So I don't know. They could work towards and put a lot of effort towards Jupiterian things, which is teaching and maybe getting a master education in some type of specific field. Them maybe wanting to dominate their field of intellectual interests could overshadow the marriage potentially. Who knows? With Saturn originally ruling the sign of Capricorn, they could be a servant to their teaching. They could be a servant to Jupiter. They could be a servant to their guru, to their teacher, to their philosophy. They could be a servant to the Martian things, competitive, violent, sports, male friends and brothers. Them wanting to be a servant to those things and dominate those things could maybe overshadow and cause issues within the marriage, maybe. So now let's go to the eighth house, which is Aquarius. Co-ruled by Rahu, ruled by Saturn. Aquarius originally deals with the 11th house of large social network circles, organizations, and games. Maybe for the Cancer ascendant person, you might make a lot of financial gains or gain a lot of support from your in-laws, from your, obviously your spouse's family. You might gain a lot of support from them. They might really want to be involved in your life, in your marriage, in your life. You might gain a lot of support from them. Or because you got that co-ruled foreign effective Rahu associated with Aquarius, the in-laws, it might be an unusual relationship with the in-laws, with that side of the family. Um, who knows? Maybe even a distant connection or relationship. But who knows? Like I said, you might gain a lot of support from the in-laws, or it could just be an odd relationship with them. It could be maybe distant or whatever. Maybe your in-laws die and you end up getting a lot of money from them, even though you had almost no relationship with them. But because you're married to their son and they died and he gained money from the will, you also gain money. Some maybe crazy scenario like that might happen. Um, since Aquarius is like about waking up the conscious, waking up the conscious of the collective, the masses, you could maybe be very interested in maybe, I don't know, secretive things, taboo stuff. You could maybe want to find a community, a group, or organization that is associated with things that might be currently in this present day and age or era, or maybe considered to your family taboo, because the eighth house is like the secrets that you keep from your family, because the second house is the family that you come from, and the opposite of the second house is the eighth house, which is also associated with the occult, sex and death and secrets, the stuff that you might keep from your family. So you might want to find, as a Cancer ascendant, a group, a tribe, an organization of people who are into the things that your family might not approve of. Your family might not like your in-laws. They might not like your spouse and your spouse's family. And them not liking your spouse and your spouse's family, it might cause a friction between your family, your in-laws, or just both of them. It's like you gotta pick a side. So we can see that friction between the in-laws. We can see you maybe, like I said, making some type of gains from them. Or maybe the stuff that you're into might not sit right with them. And y'all can just find out y'all have nothing to discuss, nothing to relate with, because they don't like what you're into. So that might play out with Aquarius in the eighth house. And then you go and look at the ninth house, which is Pisces, where you have Mercury debilitated and Venus exalted. Mercury is the logical, practical knowledge, and Pisces is like abstract, out of this world type of thinking and stuff. It's like Mercury tells you that, listen, this is the only way that you can go about doing this. It's like Mercury maybe just lay it out straight and clear. Like, you can be nothing else in life. This is all you can be. Your way of thinking is unrealistic. There's no other way that you can go about doing this. And then Pisces is like, well, what about this? What about that? They find a loophole outside of what you just clearly explained and stated. It's like, no, motherfucker, I told you that this is what the fuck we're going to do. This is who I am. This is how you go about doing this and that. And I made it clear cut. There is no other fucking way. And you think of a fucking way. You're trying to think of a fucking way outside of the only way they told you. Pisces is like someone who tries to find a way out of no way. And their way of finding a way out of no way is very illogical and frustrating to intellectual, logical people. because it borders on the line of insanity and just unrealisticness. So the logical, practical mind of the Cancer ascendant person does not comprehend the ninth house things, which is the father, which is the teachings from the father, his belief systems, gurus, and teachers. Pisces originally rules the 12th house of isolation in foreign lands and imprisonment. So, in the subconscious or whatever. So, there might be this distant relationship to the thing, this foreign, non existent relationship to the things of the ninth house. Your logical, practical mind as the Cancer ascendant might not understand your father. You're like, what the fuck is my father doing? Why does my dad believe this shit? Why does he think like this? Why is he teaching me this shit? I don't agree with it. It's stupid. Or whatever. Or you might not really agree with the teachings of your teachers and their views. Your mind cannot comprehend what the fuck they are trying to teach you and tell you. You think it's crazy, you think it's stupid, you think it's abstract. And you could probably try to work real hard to try to comprehend it and understand it, but it could just be maybe very frustrating for you. Maybe your views and belief systems are very twisted. Maybe you're the one who is struggling to communicate and express your twisted views and beliefs when it comes to stuff. What else can we say? Let's look at Venus. Venus is exalted in the ninth house. So you might find love. You might date. You might date and attract lovers or be attracted to women and make female friends who believe in things or into beliefs, who believe in things or are knowledgeable and educated in things that you don't believe in, that go against what you believe in. It's like you like somebody, you're attracted to them, and let's say that you're not even into astrology and mysticism or whatever, but you're attracted to somebody who happens to be into stuff that you're not into. And even though that might have normally been a deal breaker, you like so many other things about that person that you can sort of overlook that one thing that you're not into. And hell, even your debilitated Mercury, because you are so infatuated or into that person, you might try to understand their world. It's like, listen, I'm not really into tarot or astrology, but I like you so much. I want to be with you. I want to try to make this work, that I am willing to try to understand your world. This world that I have been so against. I will try to work with it. I'll try to understand it. It would be like somebody who is not into anime, but they're attracted to this person who's into anime. And the person that they're into, who is in the anime, they go to otakons. They dress up as the anime characters. And you have never really been to anime. You never been watching a bunch of the shows and the Japanese stuff. And you seeing the person that you're into dress up and go to these events might be even a little bit cringe. But you like this person so much that you're willing to work with it. You're willing to step into their world. A world that you don't understand. So that's what you might see with the ninth house of Mercury debilitated and Venus exalted. You might be attracted to what you don't understand in the form of love, in the form of women. Largely you'll understand it, but because the person you're attracted to is into it, you'll try to understand it. And for better or worse, that might make or break the connections and the relationships. It could be maybe, since Pisces is associated with the 12th house of loss, it might be a loss of relationship, a loss of love due to your Mercury not being able to largely understand what they're into. Or maybe it could be a loss of your intelligence in favor of you being with someone that you love or attracted to. So there's a lot of different ways that things could play out. Pisces in the ninth house, you might have to go to another country, go somewhere very far away or remote, or some unusual place to find the proper teacher, to find the proper guru, to find the right teachings. You might search and go far and wide to find what you are trying to look for, to find the guidance. Or you might not ever find it. It might just be a complete loss of it. And then we go to the 10th house, which is Aries. I believe I said in my Aries ascendant video that, Aries people could be very maybe independent people and stuff. Very independent nature. Because if you're an Aries ascendant, you got Capricorn in the 10th house. And Capricorns are conquerors. They conquer their career. So now with a Cancer ascendant, they got Aries in the 10th house, where Sun is exalted and Saturn is debilitated. So the Cancer ascendant person, they could be maybe very dominating in their career, very strong-minded, very egotistical, very demanding and conquering, independent when it comes to their career, So Cancer is very, a very interesting sign when you break it down. Now that I think about it, like I said, they could be deceived. They could be doing the deceiving. They could be very selfish. They can want to just provide and take care of their needs. They could be a cheat. They can cheat romantically maybe, or they can cheat death. They can outwit you. So with the 10th house being Aries and Sun being exalted, they maybe want to work for themselves. They may not want to work for other people. Or they could be a leader or a strong personality even if they work for somebody else maybe. Since the 10th house can represent the father can work for oneself. The father can really have a strong image, can probably project a strong image out into the world or whatnot. Then we go and look at Saturn. Saturn is debilitated in Aries. Saturn wants to work and assist other people, but in Aries, it's being told to work for oneself, to help oneself, to be independent. So with the Saturn debilitated in Aries in the 10th house for the Cancer ascendant, Saturn might not, do too well trying to be, I don't know, because Saturn wants to work with other people, but with Aries, it's independent and whatnot. You might not do too well working with other people. That's what I'll just say. You might not do too well working with other people. You might want to do everything on your own as a Cancer ascendant with Aries in the 10th. You might struggle to get the help. You might struggle to maybe want to reach out for the help of other people. You might not want to grab and reach for it. You'll just want to do it yourself. And that might stifle your progress. So now we'll go to the 11th house, which is Taurus. The 11th house of large social network circles, organizations, and gains, where you have Moon exalted and its Moon's multicone. This is where Moon feels balanced. The Moon, your mind might feel balanced and happy when it receives support from other people. Taurus is the mouth. Taurus originally rules the second house of your personal wealth. So maybe your mind feels real balanced and happy when you receive support and help from other people. Now, this might sort of contradict what I said with Saturn being debilitated in the 10th house. But the way I look at it, you might not want to ask for help, but when you do receive it, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel happy when you receive something that you didn't ask. When you receive the support, the finances, the people who support your dreams, when you receive that without you having to ask for it, it feels very good. You feel very happy that people are backing you and supporting your dreams and pouring into you. So the mind feels very happy and balanced when it's receiving support of organizations and groups and other people. The 11th house is also the eldest sibling, so maybe the mind feels at ease when it is with the eldest sibling, or when the eldest sibling is supporting them, or when they're helping the eldest sibling. They might feel very balanced or at ease. Maybe the mind feels balanced and at ease when it's either, like I said, gaining wealth from the large organizations, or when it is maybe when it is networking or pouring into other large groups and organizations or whatever. Who knows? Um, but yeah, that's the 11th house. So now we are at the final house, the 12th house, Gemini. Um, 12 houses, foreign lands and then maybe another countries, imprisonment, rehabilitation centers, isolated environments. Nothing is exalted or debilitated in the sign of Gemini, but Gemini is associated with your efforts. Gemini is associated with communication and youngest siblings. So this could maybe further reinforce that maybe you could have a non-existent, distant relationship with the siblings. Your communication might be lost. Your communication might not be understood by other people. Who knows how that can manifest? You might be mute. You might be, deaf. You might be mute. You might have to use sign language or something. Who knows how that can play out? Um, you're you might want to communicate to people who are in faraway places. You might want to reach and deliver a message to people and touch people who are maybe not maybe seen or heard or felt. Um, but to be honest, if I'm telling you the truth, I can't really think of too much to honestly say of I can't really think of anything of significance or relevance to say about Gemini and the 12th house. Maybe your efforts could go towards keeping your thoughts, keeping your communication, keeping your friends secret, keeping them private. You might have an effort and desire to want to go to an isolated place, maybe. Who knows? But that's all I gotta say, honestly, when it comes to Cancer ascendant. I'm about to go briefly look at the notes that I took in my phone that I didn't even have to go and look at during this video to make sure that I did not miss anything before I go and start to upload this video. But what else can I have to say about this nakshatra? I mean, not this nakshatra, this sign. Another thing you can say about Cancer people in general, they will probably really fight for their lovers. Because when you, maybe not, I can't provide an example for a Slasha nakshatra, but for Punya Vasu and Pushya, you see that fight for your lover. Ram, the 7th incarnation of Vishnu, went in, I believe it's the 7th incarnation. I don't want to F up. But he went to war for his wife after she got kidnapped. So that's one example. Pushya, Brihaspati, was ready to go to war after, Tara wanted to stay with the moon spirit, Chandra. He was willing to go to war, fight for his lover, fight for his wife. So you can see that the Cancer person, they will fight for what they love. They will fight for their spouse, fight for their lover. That could be the Mars exalted in the 7th house of Capricorn coming out, but they'll fight for their intimate relationships. And then we might see a huge significance and connection to them wanting to secure their land. If you look at Punyarvasu, Aditi, she gave birth to the Vamana avatar that's associated with Shravana Nakshatra that went and helped reclaim the land stolen from Indra by Mahabali. So that's one association with land. And then Cancer naturally is associated to the 4th house, which could be associated with maybe fixed, immovable things like a house. And then if we look at maybe Pushya, Pushya is Brihaspati, a teacher, I don't know, a teacher, a guru. They need an ashram, they need a school, they need a temple, they need something, somewhere to teach people, to have somewhere to congregate. So maybe, I'm just throwing shit against the wall, see if it sticks. you might see some type of theme of home yet again with a Cancer in the form of Pushia. Brahaspati, he didn't really give Tara, his wife, the attention that she needed. He was caught up into his work, and she ended up having an affair. And he was willing to go to war for his woman. And then, even after his woman, had an affair with him, he still took her in, still kept her. So it's like he fucked up and neglected his family. And even though his wife cheated on him, he still wanted to keep the family together. He wasn't the perfect family man, but he wanted to have a family. He wanted to have a home, even if it wasn't a perfect one. So home could be very important. And if you look at Aslesha, when Indra became the king of the Devas, they got kicked out. He threw the Nagas out of, heaven or whatever. And they had to go underground. They had to go and find their own new home, their own dwelling. So you see this loss of home, trying to get their home back, trying to get this sense of home and family together, even if it isn't perfect. Home, security is and regaining of lost land and property can be another theme for Cancer ascendant people, or people if you have planets in Cancer. And that's all I have to say about the sign of Cancer. Hope that this video that took me forever to go and put out because I've just been lazy, hope it was worth it and gave you insight on you if you have Cancer ascendant or planets in Cancer. And see you whenever I decide to get to my next ascendant video. See ya.